Hello, and welcome to the third episode in my Let's Make a Noise series, a series that has unfortunately been in hibernation for quite a while now. Life kept happening, but we're back to it now, and we're back to it in a slightly different way. Normally, or I say normally, I've only done 2 episodes, but in the first 2 episodes, I've shown you a little trick or a tip with a synth that I've been releasing a sound set for. This time I'm going to show you a handful of tips and tricks for a brand new synth that you won't have seen before, because it's just being released now, I guess. Or in the past, if you're watching this in the future. Oh, that's complicated. Why did I bother saying that? Anyway, let's have a look. This is Togu Audio Line's TAL-Pha Synth. Now, this is another great synth in their line of Roland emulations. They've done the SH101, the Juno 60, and the Jupiter 8. And now we have the Alpha Juno 2, which is rather a cool synth. And this is already my favourite synth of theirs. I'm going to tell you that straight away. So I've been doing beta testing for this synth, and I've done some factory patches, and I'm also releasing a new sound set for it. And I thought I'd show you a few of my favourite little bits and pieces on here that I liked playing with. I'm sure other people, influencers, will do their full reviews of it or whatever, but this is just going to be a thing, my little favourite bits and pieces, and introducing you to some new stuff and ideas, I guess. So, let's have a go, shall we? Right, we're going to start with something that is very new to Togu Audio Line synths. They have a patch browser now. So up here is where we normally access all their patches. It's very similar to their previous releases. All the patches down here, but what we've got here is this patch browser. If you do that quite quickly, so if you click on that sort of folded page thing. So here we have a bunch of patches all down here, and then you can select the sound bank that you want to get your sound from. So TAL have done the original factory banks, for example, and some cool factory sounds from Electric Himalaya and Empty Vessel and Saif Samir, and then some of mine here as well. And also you can select things by tag. So if you're just looking for a bell sound, that brings that up, or you're looking for some pads. So that's quite handy, isn't it? It's nice, and you can also open your preset folder from here and go into it and also see where it is, which I find very useful as a synth. I like that. A synth that has the ability to tell you exactly where the presets are living. That's a winner for me. That's straight into the top drawer. So that's cool. We like that. Thank you very much, Patrick at Togu Audio Line. Right, so my next little tip is an unusual little thing that we have here. So let's select default. I had some particular influences when doing my sound set, and this is something that helped in a way with that. So we're just going to fiddle with this envelope to make a nice sort of pad shape. We'll do some more on the envelope in a bit. So is that nice and paddy? That's reasonably paddy. Slightly long tail. Okay, we're going to bring the cutoff down and the envelope up so we've got that nice filter sound. Lovely, let's just have that a bit higher. And we're going over here to the LFO section. Now the LFO section has what you would expect. It's got triangle, sine, saw wave, square, stroke, pulse, and sample and hold. And with these you can sync them to your DAW, you can trigger them with the note entry doodah thing, and you can invert them, so playing them the other way, which is always handy for the saw, I find. But we've also got this noise version of LFO. And now where this comes in is with this sort of lovely kind of dusty pad idea. So let's play our pad again. Now we could just introduce noise. It's a bit bright, it's a bit invasive. What this allows us to do is get some of that sort of dusty, noisy element without it being clearly a noise oscillator. So first of all, you can do it with the filter. So we're affecting. So you can start to hear that sort of breakup of the sound. Oh, I think that's rather nice. It's kind of dusty. But you can also do it here with the LFO on the DCO tuning. It's not as obvious. Let's turn that down there. You can just hear some really fast sort of wibble. So that's really quite nice and dusty now. We're almost going into boards of Canada territory there. Let's bring another saw in. So we've got, actually let's play with the PWM. So now we've got lots of modulation. And because it's a pad, let's make it nice and wet. We'll change the tone to a bit bright and we'll add some delay in there. And now we should get really quite a nice wide analog but dusty and broken sound. So that's a really nice way of having that sort of damaged vibe, I think. And yeah, I like it. Do you like it? I hope you like it. So for our next tip, we're going to stick with pads. You know me, I like a pad. So again, we're going to dial in a nice, slow, sort of paddy vibe. Let's have a listen. And I'm going to bring down the cutoff and the envelope again because I think we want a bit of LFO in this just to give us a little bit of slow rise. Okay, so we've got a pad. Now we can do this with any waveforms. Let's just go with doubling up the saws for now. And we're going to hit sync here. So we're going to sync the two oscillators together and start fiddling with the modulation. So we're going to make the pad move with this sort of kind of almost digital sound, even though it's designed to emulate an analog synth. So starting with the original sound. Okay, so now we can do some fun stuff because it's going to sync, so we can move through the tuning of the second oscillator. So we'll go with something relatively sort of atonal designed to be, and then we're going to really pump this modulation here. So really extreme settings. So this is modulating, it's using the LFO to modulate the oscillators. So now you can hear it cycling through that. It's quite nice. And obviously we can alter the speed. That sounds mad, but so for a pad we want it quite slow. Let's whack up the effects to make it sound more like a pad. Lovely reverb. Bring down the cutoff a bit. So we've got that going. Let's add something a little bit sort of more unusual. We're going to speed up the rate of the LFO slightly, and we're going to select sample and hold. So now we add that randomness to the modulation. Let's see what that sounds like. So now it's really stepped and weird. But that gives you an idea of exactly the sort of harmonic and tonal changes you're having. It's not that nice to listen to, so we'll go back to this. You know, we can go completely the other way with them. And we can even introduce some stream tuning here. I like that. It's nice for a sort of padscapey vibe. It's got that really good blend of digital and analog going on, and I think that's really quite a nice, fun thing you can do with this synth. I'm saving these patches as we go along. So, sync pad. There we go, and I'll release these for free. I'll find somewhere to download underneath this video. Cool. So there you go. More pads. Let's have a look at another little tip and trick, shall we? Right, so what we're going to look at next is the modulation possibilities with the synth. We looked at that a little bit with the sync pad that we've just made. But here we're just going to let's go for a lead. We've done pads, so let's do a lead sound. So I'm going to do a nice sort of bright envelope for this. We'll bring the cutoff down just so we get a nice punchy sound. Let's go for that. We'll add a little bit. Because actually you do get the tone of the reverb gives you a little bit of modulation. There's a bit of... Okay, so that's just playing one oscillator, one saw. So obviously if we play two, instantly we've got that extra richness. And the first place we can do some modulation obviously is here, where we're just slightly detuning the second oscillator. Straight away we're into that sort of luxury 80s analog sound. Now we can also add a little bit of extra modulation here. Now you want to be careful with this because it's too extreme and it just sounds mental. But again, this is being controlled by our LFO over here. So again, we've got that bit more wobbliness. And then we can also do over here, this is the pitch control of LFO. We just a little taste, just a little taste. But already we're a long way away from that sort of stark original sound that we had. Okay. So we can also modulate, obviously, the filter. We can go quite aggressive with this. Or we can bring it to subtlety like everything else. So this is nice, and obviously we can change the speed. Hear it much there, so we're back near the middle. Let's ramp that up a bit. That's too much. Down a bit. And we're proper synth pop territory now. So those are the options we've got with the oscillators themselves, but we can also add some stuff over here, which is quite fun. So we've got the chorus effect, which is fairly obvious. You turn that on and suddenly you've got width. That instant Juno chorus lushness. You can dial it in softly. So you get that width, but a bit less of the chorus. Or you can go extreme. That's quite nice. And then over here, something that I don't believe is on the original Juno 2, something added by the lovely TAL guys, is some unison. So we've got polyphonic unison. So we can up the voices, and suddenly we've got 3 voices. More unison. All the way up to 7. And then you can see the spread of the voices, nice and wide. And the D tune, we can control it and bring it down a bit. Now we've got really quite a nice sort of phasey modulated sound. Or we can... And then suddenly we're into sort of trancey territory there. So rich, full-bodied warm analog sounds are super easy to dial in. Let's add some more reverb. But this synth has one more modulation trick up its sleeve, pulse width modulation. Now, we're all very familiar with square and oscillator shape with pulse width modulation. Let's whack that up. Lovely and lush. And again, being controlled here by the rate of the LFO. Actually, no, it's separate, isn't it? It is a separate LFO rate. Same shape, but different LFO rate. But what we have here, this is something I think possibly is unique to the Juno 2 and therefore to TAL-Pha here, is a PWM saw wave. What? So even more lushness. That's lush. That's nice. Okay, so save that to our little collection here, shall we? Fun. Right. I hope you like lushness. Do you like lushness? You should. Right, next thing we're going to look at is a very unique. You can't have very unique. It's either unique or it's not, right? There's no such thing as very unique. A unique feature to the Alpha Juno 2 was its 7-stage envelope. So normally we have attack, decay, sustain, and release. Sometimes you'll have some hold in envelopes. But here we have 4 stages of attack, which is really quite unusual, and it means we can do some weird stuff. So let's start with our default patch. We'll do our... Right, we really want to crank up the envelope here to get a real feel for what it's doing. So this is a bog standard patch. Boring. Is that the other side? Right, so let's start fiddling with this. So we know what decay and sustain and release are doing here. They're not doing anything unexpected. So normally with attack, we are changing the attack of the envelope, but we can do more stuff here. We can change the intensity of this stage of the attack. We can change this second element of the attack and also the intensity, or I guess kind of volume of it here. So what we're going to do, now it's good to look at this little thing down here. This shows us exactly the shape that we are creating. Hear that little warble. Now look at this peak we're creating here. So now we're creating this sort of peak, this almost sucking sound. particularly if you pull this one down. Now you may be thinking, oh, why is that any good? Well, it just gives us this sort of new and interesting ways to control the attack. So we get quite brassy here. So it's almost just giving you that bit more control. But a way that this does actually start to sort of make a really big difference, I find, is if we start also playing with chord memory. So just for an example, we're just going to play a nice harmonic chord into the chord memory, turn that off, and then play some notes. See if I can recreate the other. This is where it gets interesting. Suddenly it's starting to separate the notes. So this can sound particularly effective if we then add some reverb and delay. Those really sort of fun, sort of almost reversing type sounds. I think that's rather unique and lovely. So let's save that patch as well, shall we? Call that the reverse suck. Okay. Fun, huh? Right. One last little tip with this, and we've kind of already touched on it with the previous one, is that this synth has a chord memory. Lovely, lovely chord memory. So let's make ourselves a nice patch vibe for a chord. We want a bit of a stab here. Let's bring up the PWM. Let's make some modulation. Bring in some sub bass. Okay, and over here we have chord memory. So to activate it, you hit record, which is obvious, and then play whatever chord you want. Now, obviously, ideally, what you want to do is play a chord that is in C, so that you don't mess up with the tuning all over your keyboard. So we're going to play this. Nice. And then click record to effectively save it and make it active. So now when we just hit one key, lovely. Let's bring a bit more brightness in. and instantly we are in a city doing some Chicago house. Okay, maybe not with... So yeah, so that's fun. Now the sub oscillator. So there's our... is going to play the chord. So if we just take that out completely. So it doesn't just play the root note, as you would probably play if you're playing it without the chord memory. But we won't have too much of that in. I'll come back to these. And let's just add a bit of lashness. Might need to up the voices here. So that's nice. And it means instant techno. And we all like a little bit of techno. Well, hopefully you do, because there's a bit of techno in my sound set. Yeah, so that's a quick overview of some of my favourite tips and tricks. Oh, we haven't saved that one yet. Shall we save that one? La la la. Let's call it chord. Let's call it Inner City Vibes. Why not? Yeah, groovy. I hope you like that. That's my walkthrough of this. Well, this is my Let's Make a Noise. It's not a walkthrough. It's a Let's Make a Noise video showing you some tips and tricks with the brand new Togu Audio Line synth TAL-Pha. Hope you enjoyed it. Hi, bonus section. I thought maybe we should make a bass. It'll show us things like the range. All right, so we turn the range down, and that gives us a lower note. Now for bass, we definitely want to control the envelope. So let's make ourselves a bassy envelope. A little bit of release. We definitely want some decay, but we don't want any sustain. We're going to go for something punchy. Right, let's bring down an octave. That's nice. Sub bass. Bit more pulsy than Square. Okay, that sounds cool so far. Simple but cool. Now over here we have the high pass frequency filter. So N is neutral. That means nothing's happening high pass, and then you can filter out different layer levels. But that's no use for a bass. Well, not usually. So we'll add some back in. This gives a bass boost at 0. And suddenly you have a bass. Right, let's make it monophonic. Right, we need a bit more punchiness. Let's have some modulation. There we go, there's some punch. A bit quiet, let's turn it up a bit. Let's bring in the old noise LFO. Give it a kind of organic feel. And that can also help us look at this EQ section, which is a one-band EQ. So nice range from 20 hertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz. Kilohertz, sorry. 20, yeah, no, 20, is it 20? Oh, can't do the maths. Right, so we'll whack the gain up so we can hear what we're doing. Oh, that's got some nice crunch. Now we could go really low. Suck a load of bass in there. I quite like that MIDI crunch. Yeah, just about there. That kind of accentuates the dusty muddiness. Tighten it a bit. Have a little bit of dark reverb. I think that's rather tasty. Chorus, a little bit of chorus. What does that do? It widens it a bit too much and therefore fannies with our spectrum, I think. There you go, there's your bonus bass. Hope you enjoyed that. Bye bye, see you soon.